tribal nation clients that I work with are here. Their leaders are here. They're getting ready to go into the summit tomorrow. And our job is to help prepare them, making sure that they're alert to the issues that might be relevant in the discussion. And also, we had some meetings on Capitol Hill today. One of the things that was really coming out today is how do we target the problem in Indian country dealing with the fentanyl addiction. And our leaders are working collectively to try to expand tribal criminal jurisdiction over non-Indian drug offenders. This is trying to fix a 50-year problem of the Supreme Court saying tribes don't have jurisdiction over non-Indians. And what we see now with fentanyl and opioids is just an unbelievable epidemic, in part made worse by the lack of jurisdiction.
We're worried about the impacts of the offshore wind empire because those leases, they're going out without significant tribal consultation. The federal agencies are really not doing those very well. They're also pushing these things forward so fast. Tribal communities oftentimes don't have the resources that they need in order to properly consult on these at the rate that they're moving. So we're deeply concerned about those impacts on the tribes through the consultation process, as well as what those impacts will mean once these are built if tribes don't really have the opportunity to weigh in like they should.
It's imperative that the leadership here, that we do have that government-to-government relationship with the federal government. Of course, right at the top of my head, it's the Castro Huerta, the jurisdictional case, the healthcare issues, the education issues, and water rights issues, and what have you, land in the trust issues, making sure that we're accounted and we're holding them accountable.
Today's a very great day. Many of our tribal leaders are here and being a part of discussion regarding federal policy and the direction that the Biden-Harris administration wants to take the direction in. And we're really fortunate to be here to be part of the table. I think in Indian country, we always say that we want to be part of these discussions. We want to be part of the decision-making process. And this is a great time to do it today.
A lot of the times I think youth are told, you're the voice of the future, you're our future, but in reality we're the present. I really think we need to be here for these conversations to know what's happening right now today. And it's really important for us to be here also because we will be taking on these positions and we need to learn more about what's expected and just what's happening with our tribes currently.
Please have a seat. Here's what that order does. It requires federal agencies to streamline grant applications, to co-manage federal programs, to eliminate heavy-handed reporting requirements that gives tribes more autonomy to make your own decisions. Not to mention, it's more efficient. We know this approach works because we're doing it in some programs already.
One of the bigger issues is the federal funding mechanisms and the various allocation sources they come from. And so many tribes, it doesn't even matter if you're small or large and have the infrastructure, it becomes cumbersome managing the grants, the strings attached, the reporting, and many times tribes just don't have the capacity to seek out the grants. And when they do, they need extensions, they need to forward the funding and whatnot. And what this executive order hopefully fulfills is more ability and autonomy for tribes to utilize that funding, take it how we need it, and utilize it at the rate we need to.
Thank you, Chairwoman Picard, for the introduction and for your leadership. You are part of the new generation of Native leaders, and I'm so excited for all the work we are all going to do together and continue to do together.
Our work is helping to support boarding school survivors and their descendants. And so the importance of our work is to make sure that the truth is told about the U.S. boarding school and what occurred at the boarding schools from the early 1800s until the last boarding school was closed around the 1970s. We know these schools, the churches, religious institutions took amazing records, so where are they? And we know parents are still looking for children to this day, their relatives who never came home. Most of the parents are no longer with us, but there are elders who have brothers and sisters, siblings, cousins who never made it home from the boarding school. So they are missing and, of course, presumed gone. Finding those records, having the government provide those records is so critically important. Having churches turn over those records to families and to organizations such as ours, the NABs, is critically important to tell the story.
I think it was really hit a high point when we had both President Biden and Vice President Harris address tribal leaders at the White House Tribal Nation Summit, and of course signing that historic executive order to reinforce sovereignty and the trust relationship by streamlining a lot of the resources that is so needed in Indian country, especially on the heels of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act as well. This is a historic time where resources are coming to Indian country. Vice President Harris also, she mentioned her historic visit to the Gila River Indian community as well, and talked about the incredible things when tribes are at the table, we're given the resources, we can bring innovative, cutting-edge solutions. It's that respect of tribal sovereignty that we have with this current administration that has been so critical in making these huge gains, but also looking forward to the promise of doing even greater projects and infrastructure and advancing tribal sovereignty.